Welcome everybody to another episode of Pillow Talk. My name is Marcus.
And I'm Nina.
And how about them Chiefs?
That was a good game.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really good game.
Yep.
And I don't watch the sports ball.
Yeah.
I really don't watch.
It's
but
true.
That was the only ball I wanted to watch.
So, on the topic of the Chiefs and with Valentine's just having passed, as of the release of this episode, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
So, something that I noticed a lot of people talking about on social media was that Taylor Swift got the ick. Did you see that?
No.
It was when Travis Kelce was going off about Viva Las Vegas.
I saw it on her face.
And it was on her face, right? Okay, but that's not the part that I was gonna actually talk about. The one other subtle thing that I noticed that I wanted somebody else's opinion on.
Okay.
Was the part where he kind of shoved Andy Reid.
I know.
Is that ever a cause of concern for, like, as if it was your partner?
Yes.
That did that? Would you be concerned that, that could be me?
Absolutely, because it doesn't matter how famous you are. It doesn't matter, like, if it's a high pressure situation, you just don't treat people like that.
That's true.
And
I gave it a bit of a leeway, but also I'm a dude. So yeah. I feel like I've been in a situation where you get so into it that you kind of let your emotions out. Because I kind of understood in that situation, he saw that the ball was dropped and he wasn't even a part of the play. Right? He was on the bench.
Yeah. So
I feel like there must have been some form of frustration that he had in order to say, I want to be in it because I know that I can make the play. Versus him feeling helpless on the sidelines, Yeah,
I can see that. And, like, I also can kind of see, like, the argument of, like, it's just a bunch of dudes and, like, maybe, like, behind the scenes, like, nobody knows what they train like. Maybe they just roughhouse each other, like, all the time.
Yeah.
And, like, just because the whole world saw that happen, they were like, "Oh my God, he's like a beater."
Well, I don't want to. No. I don't want to stir that up.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying,
But, like, it's scary. Like, when
as if it was your partner, because they're not. I'd say they're getting serious, but they're not anywhere. They're not getting married, right? You didn't pop the question or anything, but if you were in that position where your partner was in a high stakes game and you saw them act that way, would that ever be a cause of concern?
Yeah, for me. Oh, well, for me personally, like, I would get the ick when I saw that. I would have been like, ooh, that doesn't look good.
Yeah.
But, like, then again, we don't know how, like, they, if they roughhouse like each other like that at any point.
Yeah. Because Andy Reid, after they had an interview with him, he said that that's something that's very, not that it's common, but he's done that before. Just he just gets riled up about it. And he's okay with that because he knows that he has a heart in the game.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that settles that. We're moving on to another topic that I wanted to talk about today, which is whether or not you're on a first date, whether or not you're on a second date, whether or not you're on a 50th date, some red flags and green flags on a date.
Okay.
Some of these will probably apply more to first dates, but I wanted to hear your opinion about them, or we just talk about them real quick. So the first one that I had was the notion that somebody holds the door open for you.
Oh, we're going, like, traditional. Okay. So if somebody holds a door open for you, what, is that a green flag or a red flag?
That's what I'm asking.
It's always a green flag.
Okay.
But I've also seen on dates where a guy will hold open the door for a girl, she'll walk through, and he will immediately get pissed.
Why? Because
she didn't say thank you. Red flag.
That is a red flag.
It turned from green to red.
Yeah. Some people, though, I've noticed that there's kind of this, I don't want to call it extremist culture, but a lot of people say that it's a red flag. They don't want girls specifically don't want that type of chivalry, they want to call it, because they're like, independent people. Yeah. So what's your opinion on that?
As an elderly woman, I will take any form of kindness.
Yeah, so elderly in your mid-20s, huh?
I can understand. A lot of younger women feel that way, where, like, oh, I'm independent, like, I don't need a man or anything like that. Then don't have one.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it's almost like, why are you taking this a little, like, so extreme that you're denying yourself, like, the simple, small things?
Yeah.
You know?
You're ruining, like, the niceties in life.
Yeah.
You know, the small things in life.
Like, it's almost like, do you think you just don't deserve to have the door opened for
Yeah.
you? Like, you should open all the doors for yourself?
Right. But also, I think there's then also that idea that guys will have that toxic masculinity of, oh, why didn't they thank me for doing this, right? Which is also stupid, because if you do something, we talk about this like all the time. If you do something, it should be out of your heart because you want to, not because you expect anything in return, not because whatever, you know?
Side tangent. That is the origin story, the villain story of how every nice guy starts off.
That's true.
Because nice guys will tell you like, oh, I just know this girl, and like all the girls that I've ever liked just pass me over, or like say that they're not interested, and then they date another guy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I feel like used, and like, you know, like my time was wasted. But then you look at the actions and they're literally doing nice things so they can categorize themselves as a nice guy.
Yeah.
In exchange for something else.
Yeah.
So
side comment on that too. I feel like that's a phase that guys either end up growing out of or they never do.
I think it's
because I think every guy goes through that.
I think, honestly, hot take, I think everybody goes through that.
Probably, yeah.
Because like when you're younger, in your mind, how do you get someone to like you? By doing nice things.
Yeah.
But in a younger person's mind, it's like, oh, this is a transaction. Doing nice things means that I get nice things in return.
Yeah.
But the people that never grow out of that IMO are just so immature.
Yeah, it's a maturity thing. Yeah, for sure. Now, the next red flag or green flag thing that I wanted to talk about is who picks up the bill.
I don't know. I feel kind of like split between this two, because the chivalrous part, the traditional chivalry is that a guy will pick it up. And that's pretty nice. Like, it's nice to have and it's nice to happen. But there have been dates where like I pick up the bill and it's like totally fine.
Right.
But I feel like there's always like an underlying, okay, like you got the bill this time, like he must have really treated you well. You know? So like, I don't know. I feel like kind of torn in between that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it never bothers me when I pick up the bill, because by the time we get to that dinner table, I've already determined that, oh, I think you're okay to spend like an evening with. Yeah. And getting that bill is just, you know, it's like a fact of life. You're always going to have to, you know, do something. Right.
And I was going to say too, before you and I had met, I'd been on a couple of dates off of like Tinder. And that's the same situation where you go out and it's almost like, you could think about it however you want, right? A lot of girls go on to Tinder to fool around, to get free meals, whatever. That's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of it, guys do have to spend
a lot of
like
money,
a decent chunk, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like that's also a part where you have to pay to play.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks, but how do you know? You're almost limiting yourself out of the potential of whatever it is you're on there for, to basically shut yourself out.
Right. So like in my opinion, when I was dating as well, I didn't mind it and I would prefer it if we split the bill. Obviously some people like don't believe in that, but I really did like paying for like the date, because it's what you said. How many other guys have like been on dates and nobody pays for their bills? So
yeah,
like,
especially
kind of sexy if
I
you
think
just pick up the bill.
Yeah, I think it's cool that if you're on a first date, that both of you go into it to split the bill, because it shows a level of commitment from both parties, right? That's just a thought.
It's more of a progressive thing, to split the bill. I feel like it's a very traditional thing to have the guy pay. And then
pause on that though.
Yeah.
Side tangent. I don't think that every first date has to be the fanciest.
Oh, I don't think so either.
Like dinner. Because this topic that we're talking on, and as we're talking about who picks up the bill, it feels like, oh, the bill is a lot. Yeah. But let's just assume it's a movie, a coffee, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a lot. And I think in that sense, you don't necessarily have to worry too much. If somebody's pressed about the bill, you're probably not in a financial position to like go on so many of these dates, right?
Yeah. But I will say that there has to be, I guess, like a level of tact when you're talking about like money, because there are so many instances where like people will go on dates and like the person they pay for is either not grateful or like not appreciative of, you know, that gesture. So I think
that's a good point.
I think money is already a sensitive topic to like strangers.
Yeah.
But adding insult to injury would be
going
like being
on like a cheap date.
No, not being a cheap date, but not being respectful to them as a person. Like how shitty is that when you're like having a date with someone, they're on their phone the whole time and then you pick up the bill.
Yeah, that
like,
is true.
That makes the whole thing worse.
Which has happened.
If you will probably not know if somebody will pick up the bill, you know, for you, but just it costs nothing to be a good human being on a date.
So we'll say this. When you split the bill, it's a green flag.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time, whoever wants to pick up the bill, also a green flag.
Yeah.
Okay. Not really an issue about it unless you make it a problem.
It's a red flag if you pick up the bill and they're not appreciative.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, another side tangent. It's a major red flag if they treat the waiter like an asshole.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the biggest things that you probably have to look out for is how they treat other people. But also, usually when you're in like a first date, that's not really a worry. People are almost always on their guard.
No,
really?
I've seen some like really macho, like puff daddy.
Okay, maybe that's more of like a trying to be alpha dude type of deal, because I don't really see that with girls. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. But I've seen like some dudes where like they want to act like they're like the big tough guy, and they'll be like, just give me this, and this, and
that's
the order
the
for
ick.
It's the ick. The order for him and then his date, and it's almost kind of like, it's kind of weird. I don't know.
That is kind of weird. Okay, so out of that topic, actually gives a pretty good segue to the other red flag or green flag. Let's talk about specific dates.
Oh, okay.
What constitutes as a red flag date versus what constitutes as a green flag date? So we talked about like cheap dates versus expensive dates, right? Is there a value in which you should be somewhere in the middle, like the sweet spot? Or is there something that's very specifically a red flag? So in my opinion, I think that movies are always a red flag.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it's so too. The dumbest thing that you could do is to meet somebody new and not even say a single word.
Yeah, just like...
Or you're going to be those two people that are in the theater and just be obnoxious.
Like making out.
No, not even making out, but I'm saying, you know, how do you get to know somebody?
Yeah.
When you're sitting for 2 hours, not saying a single thing.
I cannot enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
I could not.
And it just feels awkward because you have a complete stranger right next to you that you feel like you have to obligate some time to. Right?
Yeah.
So that's even worse than having a complete stranger that bought the seat next to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's because here you're like, okay, am I supposed to hold your hand? Am I supposed to look at you at all?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like,
am I breathing too loud? Like, those are things that you have to ask, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the ick with that too. I think I've only been like on one movie theater date, and it was like mid.
I've never been on a movie theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was really awkward. I don't even remember what the movie was about, but we were just sitting there, and the whole time I was like, am I too close? Am I like...
Exactly.
Do I look okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, do I watch the movie? Is he looking at me right now? At the end, I don't know who kissed who, but like we kissed each other, and then it was like, yeah, we were like that annoying couple that was just like there, and then it was worse because we were sitting in the front row.
The screen was literally right in front of you.
You just see two heads going like,
goodness.
no, we were not like that. Can you imagine?
Yeah. The next one. What about sushi on the first date?
I think that's fine.
I think there was some Cosmopolitan or some who knows what magazine back in the day that was saying that sushi for a first date is a really good idea.
Really?
Yeah, because it's adventurous and like, you know, stuff like that. I agree with that because I think you get a good sense of who they are culturally.
Yes.
And also how adventurous they might be if they've never had it before. I just think that it's also like really good conversation.
I think it's a good idea because I actually read in a book that one of the best places to have conversation is in a environment where it touches on the natural human experience. So anything with food, because humans typically associate food with like a safe place. Like you feel safe enough to eat.
Okay.
Any place that is physically comfortable. So like some people think cafes or like coffee shops. Like you feel comfortable to sit there and engage in conversation with this person. Those are examples of like really good date ideas or like places to connect.
I see. Okay. On the contrary, I've also heard that theme parks are a really good place.
Oh,
for
it
first
is
dates.
for La Toxica people.
Really?
Yeah. I think, okay, so I think it's a good place for people, like adventurous people.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good place for a first date.
Really?
Yes.
I think the mix of thrill and excitement and competitiveness is there. Because if you go to somewhere that is like a carnival where there are games to play, or just like a normal theme park where you get to have some downtime standing in the line to talk to somebody, and then you go on this ride that's like 2-3 minutes, that's fairly thrilling.
In my opinion,
I think the endorphins part of that just makes it fun.
The reason why I think it's like, I don't think it's like toxic, but the only reason why I'm like not a huge fan of it is because I heard going on amusement park rides or like feeling scared is like a way people use to like trauma bond to each other. So
although the best relationships you do make, friends or otherwise, are through like suffering together. Yeah. It's true. It is true.
In my opinion, I think an amusement park, theme park, or carnival is like, I feel like it's a little intimate. I don't know why I think that way. I feel like I would really need to like know them a little more to be like, oh yeah, like we can go do stuff together.
I think it's because you associate that with less security at somewhere like that.
I think that's a woman thing. It's like there's so many people and there's like so many things happening. How would you know if your safety was compromised in some way?
I see. Do you have any other things to add to the red flag, green flag, or good first dates idea?
No, I don't have anything else to add, but I'm kind of curious. What is your worst first date?
Worst first date. What constitutes as a first date? We can't be going like third grade, right? Like
no, like
so like an actual
like worst first date, and it had red flags like all over the place.
Oh, okay. I had this one where I'm 90% sure the moment that I met them at the restaurant, they were just there for a free meal, which is why I brought up that conversation, right? The other worst part too was as we were talking, I was the only one that was asking questions and really trying to get a conversation going. And all that we're doing was just giving like short one-word answers. And it was really difficult at a lot of times to even get something going because you just kind of sit there in silence for 5-10 seconds. Awkward silence, right? Worst thing ever. But then on top of that, they would have their phone and they would just be like on it. So not only are you fighting, I guess the one relief out of that was that it wasn't too bad for me to try to think of topics to talk about because I knew that they weren't paying attention to me, right?
Yeah.
So on that front, it was like, okay, I have at least a little bit of freedom to kind of relax and not have to worry so much about what I'm saying or like what topics are being talked about because there's no pressure, right? But then on the other end, it sucks because you're sitting there and then all you're doing is looking at somebody be on their phone. And I'm pretty sure what had happened too was they ended up asking their friends to also like call them. Yeah, at the end, like right at the end of the day, it was just like, oh, sorry, you gotta go. Yeah.
That's awful.
Yep.
Girls are horrible. Except for me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, what about you?
Something similar happened. So I met this guy and we were talking on Tinder for a little bit. The conversation on Tinder was really good. Like probably like one of the best I've had in like my time like talking to other people. Except for you, of course. He's an army guy.
No.
He's an Air Force guy, actually. And he said he was coming from one base to another. And that base ended up being in the town that I was in. He said that he was going to be staying at a dorm at the same school that I was going to. I lived in the apartments, like out of campus. So that would be like a 15-minute drive, which wasn't bad at all compared to like the 3-hour drive he would have to make to this dorm. He didn't come to see me. He just came because he was just going to be transferring to this base and he just happened to be there.
So it was just...
So it's like out of convenience, I'm here.
It's the biggest douchebag army dude like, hey, I'm in Vietnam. Let me go pick up a Vietnam.
Yes, literally. So, but like at the time, it was like when I think back and like I realized that, but at the time I was like, oh my God, the stars are aligning. We're gonna meet.
Yep.
And he was like, oh, can you pick me up? Because, you know, I just drove 3 hours, you know. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I totally get it.
You had to pick him up.
So I went to go pick him up.
Oof.
From the moment I picked him up, he literally said nothing to me. It was so awkward.
It was Air Force or Navy?
Air Force.
Oh, Air Force brat.
He didn't say anything to me. Literally, he was like, hi, and like, that's it. And then didn't have any conversation with me in the car. He was on his phone the whole time. And I was trying to talk to him. I was like a little awkward. And then we get to the restaurant that we're going to eat at. Doesn't even talk to me at the restaurant. He's on his phone. It was really awkward. I'm trying to talk to him too. And then part of me is just kind of like, oh my gosh, maybe like I'm ugly or something, like I'm not what he expected. I swear I'm a nice girl. And then we get back in the car and so I'll just drive you back to the dorm if that's fine with you. And he's like, yeah, like I don't want to go anywhere else, just take me back. At this point I just got so upset, and this is like the most toxic, crazy psycho girl thing I've ever done. But there is this neighborhood roundabout. Of course everybody knows that like to get on the roundabout you take the right side to go like all the way around. So I needed to get to the third exit, but instead of taking the third exit, I was so annoyed. I was like, he's not even paying attention. He's not even paying attention to me. So like, what if I just drove on the opposite side of traffic? What if I just drove on the opposite side of traffic? So I did. And that was the only time where he was like, whoa, what are you doing? And I was like, oh. I was like, nobody's around. And I'm pretty sure he was texting his friend who's being like, this girl is crazy. Like Asian people all drive the same way.
Yep. You just ruined it for all of us.
And then he literally got out of the car and that was it. I literally never heard from him ever again. So we just talked about a few things for like first dates. Let's start talking about things about, you know, when you're established in a relationship. So let's say that you've had a great few first dates. You realize that you want to, you know, be in a committed relationship with this person. What are some relationship myths that you've heard? Actually, I have a few from the people of Instagram. Thank you for answering our Instagram question.
Thank you for contributing.
Thank you, Azalea and Shireen, for submitting your thoughts. So one said, what are your opinions on the whole opposites attract?
I think it's silly.
I don't
think opposites really attract.
So this is like a not complicated. So I would say that my opinion of this has changed with age. Okay. I'm entering my MILF era right now. So
sure.
I'm wise beyond my years, you know, looking back at the youngins making mistakes.
Sure.
But when people say, oh, I love when opposites attract, or like opposites attract, no, it's when opposite aesthetics are attracted to each other.
Yeah, I have no problem with saying that a jock and a goth could be in a relationship. That's fine.
Yeah.
But they aren't opposites.
So this is like, so my immediate thought when you said jock and goth together, I'm like, my initial thought is, oh my God, that's so hot. But
what?
But then you have to realize that the reason why opposites attract is because it's the same way that any relationship takes place where there's attraction between two people. It's when like the fundamental ideology between two people are very similar or like they match. Yeah. They just happen to look different. So people always peg it as
it could also be attract. It could also be that what they are each looking for is just something that's missing in their own life. Yeah. Something that the other person could feel. Yeah. But I don't think that those are two opposite people. Yeah. That just happen to be together. Yeah. Right.
So like the myth of like, I think I've seen it in so many movies. It's like a type A girl. Oh no, not even type A girl. It's like a CEO, like by the books businessman falling in love with the country bumpkin girl. It's like every Hallmark movie.
Yeah. But that's also not opposite either, because the true opposite of that would be Mark Zuckerberg marrying a homeless crack addict from Portland. Like those would truly be opposites. Yeah. And that would almost never happen. Right. And also to sprinkle a little light on it, right? when we talk about like Meghan Markle marrying into the royal family, that's not an opposite attract.
No,
thing.
but people consider it opposites attract.
Yeah. So situationally, I feel like, because she's not royalty, that somehow she's the opposite.
Yeah.
That's not true, because I think her qualities as a person probably align a lot.
Yeah.
With her partner, and so that just works out.
So no, I totally agree. That's a great example. So it's not opposite people entirely attract. It's just that you guys have opposite aesthetics and you happen to like each other.
Or the other way to think about it too is that your partner should complete something that you may not have and would like to have.
Yes. Or enhances
something
that you would like.
Yes. So it's not necessarily attracting somebody who's opposite of you. It's improving your wholeness as a partnership.
I would say that the reason why a lot of people say like opposites attract is because there's another myth that your partner should complete you. And I think that ideology of opposites attract is like, oh my gosh, they're the missing puzzle piece. I would never have been complete if they were not in my life. Yeah. That is so false. That is so false.
Also, that's kind of unfair to your partner too.
Oh, yeah.
To say that, either your partner has to pull in the extra work to kind of pull you up to speed, or you have to pull your partner up and be the fixer upper.
Someone saying like, they're like the missing puzzle piece in my life. I would have never been complete without them. How did you live all of your life without even meeting this person? If you had never met this person, would you continue living?
Yeah.
Yes, you would.
Probably would.
Another one. People who believe couples should always agree on everything are stupid.
That's an interesting one.
I have like kind of a hot take on
What's
this.
your hot take? What's your black pepper?
Is that a new term?
No.
Black pepper?
What I came up with.
I think couples that agree on everything in terms of like fundamental ideology are not stupid. I think it's like a great thing to have. But if you're like a couple and you literally are like, my partner likes blue, I like blue.
If you are the copy paste version of your partner, you might be family.
They're just like, yeah, you know what?
I also don't want to be with a clone of myself.
I don't either.
That's weird.
Because if you're dating someone who's like a clone of yourself, I think that's a nightmare scenario. And the reason why is because you may or may not be aware of like the flaws you already have. Yeah. But why would you want to double that?
That's true.
Why would you want to double?
That's true.
Why would you want to double it?
It could be a good way to learn about the flaws of yourself.
It would be. But
what part about me makes other people vomit?
Ew. Like you just took double it and pass it on to the next person.
No, double it and pass it to myself.
Yeah. It's like an evil twin scenario, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like almost like you have to kind of find out like what are your weaknesses and how do I resolve these issues? Yeah. Which is also kind of like assuming that you even get to the point that you recognize that there's a problem.
Yeah, you could just hate each other.
Yeah, you could be enabling each other.
That's true.
That is true. If you two are literally copy paste or like very similar to each other and you end up enabling each other, you just doubled the problem, you know?
But back to the original prompt. I agree. I think people who fundamentally believe in the same things, that's not necessarily stupid. I think that the stupid part is if you like the exact same band, you like the exact same color, you like the exact same, hobbies, all that type of stuff. That is a little silly. That's a little wild because you two are individual people. You should have the freedom to do whatever you want. Yeah. I think at its core, the type of life that you want to live, the futures that you want to have, those are things that can't be unchanged. Yes. Yeah. Because, and I said this to you the other day, that the farther that two individuals diverge from basically the center of the vision that they have, the harder you both have to work to keep the relationship afloat.
Yeah. Yep. It's almost like you can, in terms of like fundamental thought, how much different can you be from your partner in order to have like a successful relationship? Like what is the threshold for that?
And that depends on the individuals. Like, are you able to, and that friction, in my opinion, is just the resilience of you wanting to stay with the other person. Yeah. Like, am I saying that two people, one wants kids and the other one doesn't want kids, can't be together? No. But eventually that's going to be a problem. Right. And either you figure it out or you don't. Yeah. Right? Like, That's a fundamental. And I
Right.
feel like there's no right or wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can't agree on something, might be best that you're not together.
Right. It's like couples that can't agree on a future together.
Mm-hmm.
That is scary.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that is scary.
What about this? A couple that hasn't figured out a future.
I'm going to assume that if you haven't figured out your future yet, you're fairly new into your relationship, and that's totally fine. And for us, we didn't really figure out our future until like 4 years into our relationship when maybe we graduated school, because school took up so much of our time that we just needed to focus on school right then and there. But after school, that's when we had the actual freedom to think about like, oh my gosh, what do I want the rest of my life to be? Do I even want to be with you for the rest of my life? Even having like little things like pets to me told me like, oh, you want to be with me for a long time. And this is the level of commitment we share.
Right.
That's just like one, I guess, stone step into our future.
Stone step.
Stonehenge. Stepping stone, I mean.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying, is a stepping stone. Anyway, okay, that's the tea. Do you have any myths that you wanted to talk about?
Yes. Ooh, I have two. That's really good.
Fine.
Okay. One is that happy couples would never argue.
That's like saying that happy people never get sad.
Exactly.
That's stupid.
So the reason I want to bring this up is because when we first started dating, whether or not this was specifically said or like in my head, that was something I believed. I was like, if couples were like, you know, in a happy, healthy relationship, they would never argue.
You were in the happily ever after Kool-Aid train.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are too, because a lot of
and then they
people
call
think,
themselves as a hopeless romantics. That's what they call themselves.
No, I think it's like the first sign of trouble is earth shattering to them.
Oh yeah.
But like for me, the first fight we had, I don't even remember it, but I did remember thinking to myself, I'm like, oh,
she's like,
am I supposed to be here? Like in this relationship, is this working out for me right now? Like, is this healthy? And it was kind of like I had to trust the process, and like we worked through it together. And you know, like obviously in every relationship, there'll be a point where like you'll have one fight that's like bad, and then a lot of little fights, and then maybe if you really work through it, you literally just don't fight anymore. And I think that's where people get the misconception that like seeing from like older couples, oh, like they never fight. So if I want a happy relationship like them, I should also never fight.
Right. Okay. Yes. It's the idea of seeing the end result, but not the journey.
Yes,
it took to take
exactly.
It to get there. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I agree with that, because I think a happy, healthy relationship needs to experience the full range of emotions, the full range of everything that a normal person feels. Right? That's human. Ultimately, what being a human being is.
Yeah.
If every relationship or even if there was like a perfect person for you and you found that and you never fought, how would you know what happiness in that relationship would feel like? It just doesn't make sense.
Think about it like this. How do you know if you've ever been happy if you've never been sad?
That's true. Find somebody that makes you sad.
Yeah. So
Nina, 2024.
So that was just one thing, because I read that and I was like, oh, I believe that. Okay.
So the next one.
It's a hot take.
Okay.
But you should never have sex on the first date. It's spicy.
That is pretty spicy.
So I think this is a myth, because good sex does not equal good relationship.
That is true.
And
that is true.
Just because you end up wanting to have sex on the first date with this person you really get along with does not make it wrong.
Yeah.
But I would also say that if your intention was only to have sex on that first date, that's where it's wrong.
Yeah. Either your intention was to only have it on the first date, or after having it on the first date, you decided where the relationship should go.
Yeah.
That's there's a line.
It's like, I mean, obviously it's okay if you've like talked about your expectations before you go on the date, but just because somebody wants to have sex on the first date doesn't mean that they're not a suitable partner.
Yeah,
you know?
I think if both people are okay with it, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah.
But I'm very in the middle about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think it really matters. You know,
Yeah.
if you do, then you do.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as the both of you want
do.
to, that's fine. But if you don't, then it's not like you're not less desirable because of it. Or if they don't, it's not because you're not owed anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So Yeah, that is a myth that I just wanted to bust. Like, I don't think like having sex on the first date means that you're not a desirable partner.
Yeah.
That's like a thing that's been going around. Like, you just don't have sex on the first date. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, also I could see if that's a true belief that you have that you don't want to.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
That is totally fine.
Like
that's
that's
totally fine.
That's a condition that you have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As long as that's communicated with the other person and they're okay with that, cool.
Yeah.
If they're not, then you have a very easy way to cancel your first date.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peace out.
In conclusion, should you have sex on the first date?
Who cares?
Zoom in on my face. Only if you want to. You can always make great sex. You cannot always make a good partner.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to transition over to some games.
So what do you feel like playing today?
Should we take a pause on We're Not Really Strangers? Do you think that's a pinnacle of pillow talk? I like the couples game.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I just figured, let's pick one or the other. I don't want to play both every episode, right? Anyway.
Let's do the couples game.
The couple game.
So we talked a lot about, dating and relationships.
Yeah, but what about us?
Let's talk about us.
Yeah, you seen that meme? They're like, everybody's always talking about the Super Bowl this, Super Bowl that. What about my bowl? You seen
the
that
dog one?
The dog. Yeah, that's funny. Anyway.
Can I tell you something that's been on my mind today?
Sure.
So we got our first hate comment on TikTok.
Oh, what is it?
They said ass podcast. And I literally went, did do one better.
We're going to play the couples game. That's actually fun. Mm-hmm. Again, shout out to Jane for this game.
Yes, thank you, Jane.
We pulled a match, which reads, without money as a concern, where would we go for a perfect month-long dream vacation?
Oh, we already know.
Do we?
Yes, we do.
There are so many places that we haven't been.
Well, I'm just going to assume, I guess. We can't assume it's just the places we've been to.
You can't assume that it's only the places that we've been. Although I have a pretty good idea. And when you hear it, you're going to be like, oh my God.
Perfect month-long dream vacation. Let me think about it.
I'm going to make a list.
You can't make a
Sure you can.
You could, then you might as well say like a tour around the world.
No. But these are very specific.
Okay.
We'll say if any of these match, it's a plus. Okay, I've got two. Neither of them we've been to.
Oh.
But I just have a feeling.
Okay, I only wrote places that we've been to. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. I said Maui, Hawaii, and Colorado.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So mine was Fiji or a backpacking trip through Europe.
I was thinking Fiji too, like a tropical place, like an
And Fiji's
island. Beautiful. Yeah, I've seen, but like in photos, but like never like
well, I've never been there in
videos
person,
or anything like that. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, no, I know we would love a warm tropical place. I never thought I would be that girl, but I'm an island girl through and through.
I don't like the super hot, but I think tropics with a little bit of like a breeze. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, one more.
Okay. Best. What would our rapper names be?
Oh gosh.
Like this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I already got yours.
Yeah.
Ready?
You ready?
Yep, that's mine.
MT.
-TENT. Okay, yours is Nugs with a $sign for the S.
Nugs with the dollar sign. Yes.
All right. Anyway, that concludes our episode of Pillow Talk. My name is Marcus.
And I'm Nina.
Share this with your friends. Hope you all enjoyed this episode and hanging out with us another Friday. And stay tuned for more. Peace out.